you're saying that it's neither continuous nor discontinuous between the last link in the mundane and the first in the transcendental. But wouldn't that be the same for, say, between our two mundane links as well?
That's true, yes.
So you've got exactly the same problem, have you?
Well, you've got the same problem if it is a problem.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's not really a special case between the mundane.
Not really, because if you have, say, one mundane nidana arising on dependence on another, and then independence on that second mundane nidana, there arises a transcendental nidana. Let us say. In a sense, though, at least abstractly speaking, the relationship is exactly the same, because that second mundane nidana could only arise, independent on that first mundane nidana, and in the same way, that first transcendental nidana could only arise independence on that second mundane nidana. That first transcendental nidana could not have arisen independence on that first mundane nidana. So, at least abstractly, so to speak, the relation between the succeeding and the prior nidana in each case, whether both are mundane or whether one is mundane and the other transcendental, is the same, in principle the same. So neither complete continuity nor absolute discontinuity. But in the case of a mundane nidana succeeded by another mundane nidana, there is no qualitative change. Whereas in the case of a mundane nidana succeeded by a transcendental nidana, there is a qualitative change. Though the general nature of the relationship between the two nidanas remains the same.
But it's like your experience is arising in quality, though, isn't it? As you go on.
Yes, in a sense, because you could say that there is a degree of qualitative difference, if you can use that expression, between the first and the second of the mundane nidanas, and it's because of that the first of the transcendental nidanas is able to arise independence on the second of the mundane nidanas and not independence on the first. It means that with the second of those mundane nidanas, you've reached what I believe is called in some other context a sort of critical mass. And then something, as it were, of a different order happens. But the general principle of its happening is the same as the general principle of other happenings further down the scale, as it were.
One day it seems to me that we use terms conditioned, unconditioned. If we are just clear what kind of conditions we mean, there could be no confusion, because there are two kinds of conditions.
Right. Because yes, if you think
psychological and karmic.
Right. Yeah. If you think clearly, well aware of the meaning of the words that you use and why you use them, well, there shouldn't be any confusion at all. The confusion arises really because people use words but don't always think very clearly about the meaning of the words that they use.
Okay, would it be less confusing, do you think, rather than talking in terms of contacting the unconditioned, to talk about moving into a level of conditionality which transcends time and space? Would that be a better language to use?
Yes, it's the language of time again rather than the language of space. Instead of speaking in terms of reaching out and, as it were, touching something there, which is a quite traditional Buddhist idiom. One can speak in terms of what did you say? What was the expression you used?
Moving into a
yes.
Yes, moving into a level of conditionality conditionality.
So again, the language is spatial, because level, suggests space, doesn't it?
I'm just thinking that if you use unconditioned, it does seem to introduce the confusion that you get, because you've got the upper levels of the spiral path, where one stage is still arising independence upon another. It's hard to square that with the idea of that being unconditioned.
Because there is in a sense a contradiction in Buddhist terminology itself, due to the fact that we use contradictory modes of expression. That is to say, modes of expression in terms of space, modes of expression in terms of time. Because in the case of the Sangharakshita, well, we have, as it were, a sort of transcendental entity, but in the case of the spiral, the upper end of the spiral path, we've got a transcendental series. We have somehow to bring those two together within a common framework. But the framework is spatial terminology, so you need to, well, you can't even say bring them together, because if you say bring them together, that's spatial. Do you see what I mean? It's as though one mode of terminology has to give in the end to the other, and one becomes predominant.
I suppose I'm suggesting using the temporal more, because that at least gives you the idea of further stages of development.
Yes.
The spatial tends to, you're just reaching out to something there, and where that seems more static.
But then, of course, the question arises: if you use this temporal sort of language, well, don't you ever get beyond time? So at the point at which you go beyond time, say beyond time, it's as though the actual language starts creeping in.
Well, yes.
So if when you sort of come to the end of time, so to speak, and you enter into the timeless, you cannot but conceive of the timeless on the analogy of space. So it's as though you have to make use of both. You can't really, bring them together properly, it would seem, in a single conceptual model. Perhaps you can do it only, as it were, imaginatively, in terms of images. Dewdrops slipping into the shining sea and all that.